What's going on, everybody? It's your boy Kilo Loco, and today we're going to be working with Flutter. So we're coming in at day 25 of hashtag 30 days of Flutter, and in this video what we're going to be doing is we're going to be working with the image picker. Now the image picker is what's going to allow us to choose between the camera or the user's photo gallery, and we'll actually be able to select an image from either their gallery or take a picture with the camera, obviously, and then we'll actually be able to use that so that we can update the user's profile and their avatar and things like that. So with all that said, let's go ahead and jump right on in. And as you can see, we're going to start off over here at pub.dev, and what we're going to search for is image picker, right? So we just go ahead and start off right here. We select this one right here. And as you can go through and, go through the entire documentation, right? You're going to read all the documentation, right? What we're going to do is we need to actually include the permissions. As you can see, for iOS, we need to have 3 different types of permissions. We don't necessarily need this microphone one because we're not going to allow video, but we do absolutely need the camera permission and the photo library permission. So let's go ahead and start off with those 2 permissions by heading over to iOS in our project. And what we're going to do is we're going to open up the runner and we're going to go to info.plist. We're going to scroll all the way to the bottom, and now we're going to add in the new key and value pairs. All right, and here we go. So as you can see, I updated it so that we have 2 new keys. The first is NS photo library usage description, right? And then we put in some type of usage description that Apple's going to like. To choose an avatar, probably not. Go ahead and make sure you're entering something a little bit cleaner. And then NS camera usage description, same thing here, right? Then we have the Android piece, right? Which is just simply saying that, if we are doing anything lower than API 29, then we need to have no configuration, like there's no additional steps. But if we're doing, API 29 plus, then there is some additional stuff. So what we will do is we'll go and add this this attribute right here, which is Android request legacy external storage to true, and that's going to be in the application attribute in the manifest folder. So we go to Android. Let's collapse this iOS one real quick. Go to Android. We go to app. We go to source. We go to main, and right here is the Android manifest. And now we just simply add this one. I'm going to add it towards the bottom, and like so. There we go. All right, so we should be good. Now what I can do is I can also add in the dependency. So I already know the dependency off the top of my head, and you can see that's going to be right here in the pubspec.yaml. And what we're going to do is we'll just do image picker, right? Like so. So now we're downloading the image picker. We're getting the latest one. We're not specifying a version. Should be all good right there. Okay. So now what we need to do is head over to the profile event. And the reason why I'm going to start here is because we need to be able to handle the user's input. Like we have to give them the option to actually choose from an image source, right? And then after they choose the image source, they need to be able to pass that image source to our block so that we can handle that, right? So we're going to open up our profile folder. We're going to go to profile event. And right here, when it says open image picker, right, we have the change avatar request, which is going to show a sheet for the user to actually choose between, the camera or the gallery. But then there's going to be another event, which is supposed to contain the actual image source that the user picked. So let's update this open image picker event. All right, so easy enough change. Just add a new property called image source, add a constructor, and bam, we done with this file. Cool. Next, what we need to do is we need to create the actual image sheet that will be passing this new event. So when we hit the change avatar request, which is going to be what the actual button does when we do change avatar, let's show you that real quick. All right, so as you can see, this is where we left off and this is our UI. So when we hit this change avatar button, we're creating this change avatar request, right? And that's what's going to trigger the action sheet to pull up. And then once we have that action sheet, we'll be able to select something down here. And then that's when we're going to trigger the open image picker. So let's head over to that profile view. And what we're going to do is scroll all the way to the bottom. And we're going to create a new function that's going to take in a context. And what we're going to do is we're going to show an action sheet. Now we're going to actually be handling this a little bit different between the different platforms. So we'll show one type of action sheet on iOS and a different type of action sheet on Android and everywhere else. So we have our show image source action sheet. Oh boy, is that a mouthful. Anyways, it's going to take in this build context, and we have this function inside of our function. So you can think of this kind of like a lambda or a callback, but we just have this function here, and it's called select image source, right? So this new function select image source takes in an image source, right? And then it passes it in here where we're able to access the context, right? And we're going to access the profile block from our context and add a new event, which is going to be the open image picker event. And then we'll pass in the image source that was passed to this function to that open image picker event. So now, as you can see down here, we have our platform check, which is going to say, is this an iOS device? If it is, we're going to do some type of action here. If it's not, then we're going to do some type of action here. So what we want to do here is we're going to show, if we're in iOS, is going to show a Cupertino action sheet. But if we are not on iOS, then we're going to show like just a modal action sheet. So let's build out the iOS action sheet first. So here's the block for the iOS Cupertino action sheet thing, modal pop-up, whatever you want to call it, right? We're going to be using the show Cupertino modal pop-up. It's going to take in a context. We pass in our context. It's going to create a builder, which is going to return a Cupertino action sheet. Now the action sheet is going to have actions. You can add it in whatever actions you want. In our case, we're going to have two actions. The first one being the camera action, and then the second one being the gallery action. And as you might expect, whenever we select either of these actions, it's going to call select image source, and then we simply pass in whichever image source is relevant for that function, right? So when we tap camera, it's going to pass this select image source with the image source being camera. When we do it with the gallery, it's going to do the same thing, but with gallery. Now there is one additional line in here that might be a little bit confusing, which is this navigator.pop context. Now the reason why we have this code right here is because we actually need the action sheet to disappear after we touch it, right? So we want to select an action, then what we want to do is make that action sheet disappear, but we also want the action to continue firing whatever logic is relevant. So now that we have this all laid out, we're ready to handle it on iOS, but we still need to handle the Android and any other platform case. So let's go ahead and add in a different type of modal pop-up that's going to represent all the other platforms. And here's our else block. So we have a show modal bottom sheet for every other platform. Once again, taking in a context, it has a builder. This one is going to actually be showing a list view. So this is just like any other list view that we can build out, but we're not going to actually have it use a builder. We're just going to have a set list, right? So we'll be working with our list tiles, and list tiles allow us to give a leading, which we're going to be using icons. As you can see, this is the camera icon that we'll be showing for this option. It has text, and then it does the same functionality as the iOS one, which is going to simply make sure that this modal bottom sheet disappears after the action is selected, but we also fire this select image source function, which we had at the top. And pretty much the same exact thing is going on for the gallery. It's just choosing a different image source. So that's pretty much it for the modal bottom sheet, and that covers all the other platforms. But what we need to do is we need to be able to handle the state change so that we know when we want to actually present this, right? So we already have the event that's going to handle it, which is the request change avatar, but we don't have a state to represent that to know when it's supposed to actually trigger this functionality to take place. So we're going to head over to the profile state, and now we can just add in a new Boolean to our state, which will let us know should we be showing this or not. So I'm going to add one down here. So we updated our profile state, and as you can see, we have this new Boolean, which is going to be image source action sheet is visible. Pretty long, but straightforward. And then we updated our constructor to take in that value, right? So by default, it's going to be false whenever you create this object. This makes it so that we don't actually have to pass anything when we're creating this state in our profile block, right? And then we also made the change down here in this copy with constructor, which is going to take in the image source action sheet is visible flag again. And then once again, we'll just simply update our state, or we'll use what the current state is for that value, and just duplicate it and move forward with the new profile state. So that is that. Let's head over to our profile block so that we can yield out this new change in state. So whenever we get the change avatar request, what we're actually going to do is we're going to yield out the new state, which is going to say that, hey, we need to show the action sheet. So let's update our yield statement now. And there we go. So with this one-liner, now we can let the view know that, hey, there is a new flag that represents when we should show the action sheet, and we can actually take advantage of that. So now, since we're setting this to true, let's head back over to our profile view. We'll scroll up to the top, and now we're going to add in a block listener. So what we'll do is we'll replace our scaffold, or we're actually going to be embedding our scaffold into a block listener, and then we will trigger the show the bottom action sheet, or whatever we called it down there. We'll trigger that based off of the state and if that Boolean was true or not. And here we go. So now we replace the child of the block provider, which was our scaffold, with this block listener. And of course, it's going to take our profile block and our profile state as the arguments for the generic type, right? And then we have this listener, which takes in a context and state, very similar to our block builder. And then we just check, hey, is state image source action sheet, if that's visible, then we know that we need to be showing our image source action sheet. So now if we go ahead and stop the app and we rebuild it so that we are now with a block listener as opposed to just the scaffold, we should be able to hit that change avatar button and see this new function fire, and that will cause our image source action sheet to actually show. All right, and here's our app. So let's go ahead and do change avatar, and oh, well, nothing showed. So it looks like this change avatar probably is not connected. So let's make sure that that is connected and sending the right block. And we can do that with the change avatar button. And as you can see, it's not doing anything. So I guess I don't know what I'm doing. So it doesn't know what it's doing. So what we need to do is we need to add in that new event to our block. And as we can see here, now when we tap the change avatar button, it's going to access the profile block and add the change avatar request event. We save it, we go back and we tap on it, and still nothing. So we can go to our profile block, and when we hit the change avatar request, we should be yielding out a state copy with action is visible. And this looks correct here. And maybe I didn't save it, so let's try it one more time. All right, and let's try it again, and nothing. So let's go ahead and dig a little bit deeper. So now let's check our profile state, and let's make sure that we have our image source action sheet is visible right here. We're setting it default value to false right here, but we're not actually setting the value up here. So that seems to be the problem. And what we'll do is we'll do image source is equal to that image source. There we go. And it probably should be like this, right? And this image source. There we go. All right, so now if we try it again, hopefully it's going to work. Change avatar, and there we go. So as you can see, now we're able to select between the camera and the gallery. So the next step here is to actually be able to open up the image picker based off of that source. So now we already have our event for the opening, which is going to pass this image source. So in our block, we can handle that right here. So let's go ahead and open up our image picker, and we should be able to actually, you know, do it based off of the source that's passed into us from our event. So here we go. We have our open image picker functionality right here. And as you can see, I actually have this picker property, which is an image picker. And what we're going to do is first we need to yield out the fact that the image source action sheet should no longer be visible, right? So regardless of what happens, whether they pick an image or they don't pick an image or something happens in between, we need to make sure that the action sheet goes away, right? Then we need to get the picked image. So we'll await for their decision, whether they pick an image, take a picture, or just cancel, right? And that will give us back some type of picked image result. Now this can be null or it can have a value, right? So we need to check to make sure that it does have a value. And if it does, then we can continue down here and yield out the picked image path. So this will be a file path that we're going to be able to access and show in the avatar. So let's head back over to our profile view and take advantage of that avatar path. And you can see actually right around, let's see, change avatar button, the avatar itself right here. So what we want to do is we're actually going to be taking advantage of the background image of our circular avatar widget. And we can simply pass in a file image, and we can create a file image with a file. And since we have access to our state, we should have a state.avatar path like so. So as long as we have this avatar path, it should be fine. So let's go ahead and we'll actually restart the app, and we're going to select an image, and we should be able to actually see what ends up happening with our avatar. All right, and here we go. And I did want to point out that there does seem to be a bug with the simulator where it's actually not, oh, look at, we got a error right here. And the reason for that is because this is actually null right now. So if we just comment it out for right now, we're going to see that go away. We're not going to stick to this logic right here for our view. So I'm going to keep it as is. And then after we get an updated state, we'll be able to see the avatar. But I'll talk about that in a minute. What I was saying before that was that there seems to be a bug with image picker on the simulator for iOS specifically. And once you show the gallery, it doesn't actually let you pick something. Like, so it'll show it, but you won't be able to pick anything, and it won't dismiss. So just keep that in mind, that there is that bug on the simulator at the time of this recording. By the time you're watching it, it might be resolved. I'm not sure. So what I'm doing is I'm running this on a real device. And also you still need a real device in order to actually take a picture with the camera when it comes to iOS, because if you try to open up the camera on the simulator, it's going to crash. So those are just some things to keep in mind. Now back to over here, why I commented this out was because right now we have a null avatar path. So that was causing our UI to crash. But what I wanted to show you was that if we do the change avatar, we get this to pop up, and then as you can see, I'm able to access the camera like so, and then, you know, I'll just take a picture of this kilo right here on your keyboard, bam, like that. We'll go ahead and use this photo, and now we should have emitted the state that is going to have an avatar path. So now avatar path should no longer be null, and if I comment this out and I save it, we should actually see that it updates right there. So that's how you would access the camera, and we can do the very same thing if we wanted to use the gallery. So let me open up our gallery real quick, and I'll just choose this one right here with my daughter. And as you can see, it's showing the image that was selected. Now this is all done locally. We haven't actually uploaded the file to our backend or anything like that. And this is going to encompass what we're going to do in this tutorial right here. The last thing that I do want to show you is I actually have to stop this. I'm going to unplug my iOS simulator, or my iOS device, and I'm going to plug in an Android device just so that I can also show you the difference between the action sheets. All right, so here we go. We have both the iOS and the Android showing. Just wanted to show you what the differences are, since we have this function down here, which is going to actually be showing different types of action sheets based off of the platform. So once again, the platform iOS is going to be showing that Cupertino modal pop-up, right? You do the change avatar over here, you get something that looks like this. Now let's go ahead and take a look at what happens when we do it on Android. If we go and hit change avatar, well, we get, well, this isn't how it's supposed to look, but we do get a different UI. So let's go ahead and fix this. And I think the problem is that we're using a list view instead of something that's like more compact. We can use wrap in this case, which will update the sizing of our view. So now instead of list view, we'll return a wrap. And if we do change avatar, we can see that it's looking exactly as we would expect it. So it's staying towards the bottom. But this is the difference, right? So you have the camera and you have the gallery, and then over here you have the camera and the gallery. But this one, since it is an Android device, seeing action sheets like this is more common than showing something like this on iOS. This is way more common on iOS to show the action sheet like that. So that's how you would use two different types of widgets based off of the platform. And we could have built this out into a completely different widget that would handle this functionality internally. So we can use both of these widgets. We could use this just a single widget whenever we wanted, and it would be like an action sheet that's, you know, responsive based off of the platform. We could have done that, but we just put it right here in a function, and that's also cool. So that's going to be it for today. As you saw, we were able to build out different UIs for different platforms. We were also able to get the image picker and selection going. So we were able to choose from the camera, the gallery, and we were able to update our avatar. Now there is still a lot to go in order to get our social media app working and functional. We're still working through the profile. In the next video, we're going to be working on uploading that avatar to our backend using Amplify storage and displaying it in the app. So that's going to be next. If you're not subscribed, make sure that you subscribe, and I hope that you find these videos super useful. Now go out there and keep coding passionately.